In this video, I'm going to show you how to build the construction of this box, of how to build the mechanism for moving it, the rotation system. I'm not particularly going to show you how to build the boxes that go to make it up. Paula's done some brilliant videos for that, so I suggest you go over to her channel or onto the Lisa Horton pages on Facebook or YouTube and watch the videos there as to how to build these boxes. I'm going to show you how to put them all together to build this structure. So for the structure, you're going to need some things. So I thought I would just talk you through what you're going to need. You're going to need some black card, white card, and some grey board, chipboard. If you've got chipboard, so mount board really, that has got grey board on one side and it has a covering of white, that would be brilliant to use as well. So those are your structures. You're going to need some adhesives, 3D foam pads, double-sided tape. This is red line tape, which is brilliant. So if you've got that, use that. And some brads. So I have a standard size brad, which is about 1.5 centimeters, and I have this super duper long one, which is 3 centimeters. And either of those are going to work well. You're also going to need some PVA glue. And yeah, so I do talk briefly about the dies. This is the die, and the die number is LHCP010. So that is the die to make up your boxes that we're going to use to make our little cubby holes for things. So that is all that you are going to need to make this rotation system. So let me show you. To make the storage unit, you are going to need 12 of these sleeves. So I've die cut 12 and assembled them as shown in Paula's videos. Then what you want to do is you want to glue 3 blocks together like so. And so I've got some on the go here. So when I glue them, I make sure that they are lined up down the sides and that they're flat to the table so that everything is nice and square, because we want it to be square, because otherwise if it's not nice and square it'll be hard to have everything stable and accommodating everything. So I like to glue mine together with PVA. So I go all the way around the outside and then I come across with a fairly generous load of glue. So this is tonic glue. So, and then I just scrunch them together like that. I put them together and then I'm squeezing the glue down inside like that. So I'm just running my fingers across it and then getting them lined up. So I'm lining them up, like I said, down the side here and along the bottom, so that they will be nice and square. And then what I do, once they're like that and I've got them nicely pressed, I put them under something heavy. So here I've got a block from an old die cut machine. Works out very useful. Here's some that I stuck together earlier. You can see how nice and square they are. So I'm going to replace that. I'm going to put that under there and so nice and square and ready to be assembled with everything else. So you want 4 blocks of 3 like that. And the other thing I've done, all these pieces I wrap around here, and then what that does is it makes it nice and strong, and just gives that edge a nice neat edge. So again, PVA around the outside and around where that aperture is, where the hole is coming up there, and then lining them up in it. I drop that in, line them up side to side, and then just squeeze. And this is where bulldog clips come in handy. So bulldog clips, I find that this type of bulldog clip, any type of bulldog clip, something like that, pop that on there. I've got another one in there as well. And that's just going to hold that in place, keep it nice and flat while they're gluing. And I would do that on all of them. I find it easier to do them always in pairs. It's just less to handle. So you can do them with, you could attach this with double-sided tape, you know, like red line tape. I prefer PVA glue because it gives wiggle time. So because I created the first one with horizontal standing books as they were to be, this one that I'm going to demo them so that they're horizontal. All right, so you can see the two options. So that is going to be set like that. I always do it so that my right, as I'm looking at them, my right hand boxes are the ones that I can see. And I'm just really adding lots of glue and going around like that and adding it to the edges as well. And then sticking them together. So again, I'm using the surface of my worktop to make sure they're nice and flat and horizontal, and giving them a little bit of a press. And they are the same front and back as well here. So a nice generous amount of glue so we get it on all the sides, around the edges and in the middle. And we press them together, making sure they're nicely lined up all around. And we'll just let that sit for a moment. So let's take this out from under the block. So what we're going to do is now we're going to put them together in exactly the same way, so that every time you turn it, so open, 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 open. So every right hand block, when you look at the face, every right hand block is shelves. And so what we need to do is to stick these two together as well. And then we stick them together. So I always make sure that I am doing it right, so I haven't got them upside down or anything. And that everything is nicely central, so you can see it's got nice right angles, and it's open on the right on all four sides. And then I would just put something on top of them to make sure that they are all tight and in position. So I cut a tag from LHCP007. That is going to be the pull tag, so that we can rotate it. You might have a different way you want to attach that, but I like the tag, and it means we can just add a nice ribbon. So I'm just adding a bit of glue to that and just lining it up. And again, give it a bit of a squidge with your hand. Nice, give it a press. Like that. So I've got my hand inside the box and there, so I don't disturb any of the stuff that's gluing. So that's our pull tab. For the final part of the box, we're going to just make things neat, and we're going to add a panel or couple of panels on the base that are going to form the rotating system of the box. So what you're going to need for that are these panels of card. So I'm going to show you what they're used for from the base up, really. So you're going to need a panel of grey board. So I'm using grey board because it makes it nice and strong. So we have a layer of grey board card and a layer of white card is stuck on top. So grey board, on top of that is white card, and the white is just to kind of make it look nice, really, and to connect it with everything else so it looks really nice and crisp. On the white, let's call this the base cut. On the base we have a layer of black. Then on our actual boxes we have 2 sheets of white card, and those really are just to seal all these boxes in, really, and it helps to keep them nice and flat, and it helps them to keep them together. So, and then all these little bits and pieces on the top. Those are just the pretty things that I've put on top to make the top more interesting. So let's just show you this. Going from the bottom, we have a sheet of grey board that I've already stuck the white card to. That is our base card. So that is 18 and a half centimeters square. On top of that, we'll be sticking a panel of black card, but we're not going to do that just yet. Then we have our box construction. So I have already stuck on here the 2 panels of white, which are 16 and a half centimeters square. So they are bigger than the boxes, which are 16 centimeters square. So I make them that half a centimeter bigger, because then we get this nice lip here. And what that does is it stops us knocking into this or knocking into this. And so it just means that it's nice and neat. And also with that being flat and you can't see the 4 boxes, it means that that is a much better surface for us to decorate or for us to stick to the base layer here. The other piece of card that you're going to need is a panel of 11 centimeters squared. And what that's going to do, we are going to stick that to this, and that is going to form our rotating panel. On die set 007, which is the tags, there are 2 dies that cut these 2 shapes. So the black is cut from this small die and the white is cut from this. The white panel is cut from this, and I've punched a hole in the white to make it bigger. I would suggest cutting these and using these as reinforcements for when you put your brad on, and it will just mean that as you're moving your your block, you've just got that little bit of reinforcement around the hole, so it won't tear so easily. So it's just a little reinforcement that you can use to make your box a bit stronger. Okay, so we're going to find the center of our black and our white piece of paper, because that is where our spinning mechanism is going to go, and our spinning system is a split pin or a brad. So I've got 2 lengths. I've got this one, which is a standard length, and it's about, I don't know, 1.5 centimeters, and I have this super long one. So either will do. And what we need to do is to find the center of our piece of paper. So just grab a ruler and lay it across, corner to corner, mark the center, do the same the other way, mark the center, and then repeat on your white piece of card also. Because they need to be central, so that is where the brad's going to go, and if we get the center, then everything will spin round really nicely and neatly. So to make a hole in the center, I just get a bradawl, and you can just push that through. Sometimes it helps if you push through something that is underneath to something soft, but these are both quite lightweight cards, so I can just push through and wiggle that around, and then I can insert my brad and just rotate the brad, and that's going to make a hole that's kind of tight to the size of the brad, which is good. And then I'm going to flip those upside down so you don't see the markings. I've added 3D foam rectangles all the way around the outside edge, but not right up to the edge. We don't want any sticky overhanging. I've also added a couple in there, so there's like quite a lot of stuff to adhere it to. So my brad is going in there, because if you imagine the box is coming and it's going to sit on top there, so the legs of the brad have to come out from the underside, because they are going to go through the hole of the black card. On the underside of your black panel of card, add red line tape or any double-sided tape, and you can see I've used quite a lot, and that's because we really want that to be adhered to the base panel really well. So I've covered that in red line tape. So what we need to do now is put our brad into the wrong side of the spinner card, and then we're going to feed that through there. And now I'm going to take all of this off and I'm going to stick it to that. The backings are off. You need to now separate the legs of the brad so they're nice and flat. You could, of course, if you wanted to, you could have done this with PVA glue. You could stick it with PVA glue rather than the double-sided, but red line tape is good. So now you want to just get this nice and central and straight. Obviously, if you're doing it with PVA, you've got wiggle room and time. So that goes on there. And give that press down. So you can tell I've taken the backings off my foam tabs. But I would do that after I'd done this. So you might want to just give your brad a bit of a, if you've got a little hammer, you could give it a bit of a knock just to keep it nice and flat. So the next thing we need to do is to add our box on the top. So this, you want to keep your spinning panel nice and square in here. It just means that it's all lined up really nicely. And then you add your construction box of drawers over the top. And I'm getting that nice and central. And then I'm just pressing it down, flipping it over and pressing it down. So all those 3D foam blocks are all nicely stuck. And then what we should have, which I'm sure we will have, is a rotating unit. So I would add a piece of ribbon through here, and then your ribbon that you put through there will coordinate with whatever you've done on the top here. So I'm just going to lift that up for you, and then you can see, it's a bit hard to show you when it's like this, you can see it spin around. Isn't that cool? So you can do it, so your drawers, you've got like little drawers and they're horizontal. So these panels here actually come from the die set 007, fits on there really nicely. And so you could add words to that. You could put which inks you've got stored in here. However you want to use it, you can use that space. You could add pictures on there, stamping. On my one that I made before, these are dies from one of Paula's other die sets that's being released very soon. So keep an eye out for that. You can have it whatever you like. But the other thing I thought would be cool, so I need to tilt my camera up for this, and I hope I can do it. I might just be able to tilt it up for you actually. So I've tied a bit of ribbon around my bookcase so the books don't fall out while I'm moving it around. But what you could do is you could build layers. So you could have maybe 2 layers of the boxes like that. So if you imagine you've got drawers and drawers rather than drawers and books, how cool would that be? And the whole thing would rotate. So I wouldn't make it too high. I'd maybe keep it to 2 or maybe 3. And then maybe if you put it to 3 layers of this, I would maybe give it a stronger base, thicker base. But yeah, that would be, I think, quite cool, wouldn't it, to have more than 1 layer. So this is the one that I have made for you, and it just shows you that you can have either drawers or the little bookcase. So I'm going to put something nice on the top of there, but that is how we made that. So if you have any questions, do let me know and I'll answer them for you. But it's such a cool thing to have made, and Paula's dies are brilliant for this. They have a really nice, easy construction method, and so you won't regret getting them. Have fun! So I'll leave you with the pretty one so that you can see it in all its, or both of them. There we go.